A production of the Department
Welcome back, viewers. You're tuned in to Rise and Shine right here on Tobago Channel 5. The time is now 6:50 a.m. Remember, you can follow us on Pulse 89.5 and also on Facebook. Our handle is Tobago Channel 5. And leave us a comment. I'm seeing some comments coming in. I'm getting some good mornings from Joseph Charles, Denise Mohammed, Patricia and McDougall. Good morning to each and every one of you, and may you have a productive and an amazing day. From Mr. Otis Nixon, he's saying, Trinbago, Almighty God said, please stop murdering, kidnapping, thieving, trafficking, fornicating, deceiving. He's lamenting the frustration that he is facing with all the negative things that has been happening in our space. We are hoping that we can collectively come together and really make those positive choices. Encourage those young ones around us to make those positive choices. Additionally, there are some issues that the young people are facing, and we need to see how best we can band it together to provide them with the tools necessary to navigate those choppy waters. One thing that they're complaining about is lack of jobs. And so we are hoping that we can expand the economy sufficiently. We continue to speak about the diversification of the economy. What does that mean? How can we equip the next generation of Tobagonians? What need we do in the school system to ensure that they have those skills and tools to be a part of that diversification and to provide further employment, not only for themselves, but for other peers that they may have. International Men's Day is on Tuesday, November 19, 2024, and we have with me the ambassador for International Men's Day here in Tobago, in Trinidad and Tobago, a motivational speaker, founder of the Be Men's Foundation, and a life coach, Mr. Michael Stewart. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much. Are you hearing me?
I am.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Frederick, it's a pleasure to be on with you today.
All right. International Men's Day. Tell us about this. Tell us about your role as the ambassador for International Men's Day.
Well, as ambassador for the International Men's Day, I'm to help promote the needs, the issues, the concerns, the developmental progress trajectory for boys and men particularly in the region. And so whatever it is we can do to be able to promote the issues of men, that is what we do. Last year, we had in 2023, one of our successful conferences in Grenada. And what we want to do is to move that around the Caribbean. Hopefully, this is going to be in Tobago in this year. Hopefully, we're still awaiting word concerning that. And then we have already started a discussion with another Caribbean island for 2025. So that's what it is, to continue to move it around the Caribbean so that the issues of men are heard and acknowledged.
All right, so possibly great things in store for Tobago later on in 2024, International Men's Day Conference right here in Tobago, as we look to empower equipment with the tools necessary to cope. What is the theme of International Men's Day this year, and why was that theme selected?
Well, what we do, we try to, because the international theme may not necessarily lock into what's happening on the ground in the Caribbean and particularly. So what we've been doing over the last period of time is looking at what is happening within the Caribbean and deal with that. So what we have been doing is empowering men and giving men that confidence that as men that we can afford to be able to make an impact in the lives of boys in our society, and we can take charge of the direction that we are going. So that's what is our general focus as to what's taking place in the Caribbean.
Empower men, you say. I don't know if I speak for all of us, but I somehow believe that the men already feel empowered. When we look at the number of negative issues that are affecting our society, a large majority of it is being perpetrated by men.
Well, probably because it is a disempowered man who would do the kind of unsavory things to society and not necessarily an empowered man. Because if the man doesn't feel he's part of the building of the village, he may very well be part of its burning down. So I think it is the opposite that is taking place, because if you help build something, you are less likely to tear it down as how we see it being torn down by our men and boys, because most of the crimes and most of the home invasions, most of the things that we are seeing happening are really done by the men. That cannot show an empowered society.
So, what can we attribute to as the reason for our young men? When I started the program, I spoke to the fact that in Tobago, there are so many Tobagonians that are flying that flag and making us proud. However, the younger generation, our young men, it appears as if there's a disconnect to how we cultured men of old and how we are culturing the young men now. What exactly may be, based on the information that you're getting, may be the cause of our young men deciding to become destructive elements in our space?
Well, I'm not sure that there is a one answer that fits all, but let me just try to answer you by giving you my personal view on it. Number one, the number of boys that are growing up in homes where there is no father, homes that are headed by single parent, particularly a woman, a mother that is running the home, would contribute, because from those who have studied it said that from 0 to 6 years the mother becomes pivotal in the life of a boy, but from 6 to 14 particularly, the boy gravitates and needs a male, his father, in his life. But many of our households do not have fathers, which is an unfortunate situation. And then from after 14 the boy needs a mentor. So the mother, 0 to 6, 6 to 14, the father, and from 14, a mentor, which might be his uncle, might be some good, upstanding role model. It is around this time of 14 that you see our boys linking into gangs, linking into other guys. They are actually, in my respectful view, seeking a mentor. And in the absence of a male, wholesome figure in the boy's life, his mentor is going to be another boy who is also just as misguided as he is. His mentor is going to be a gang leader who's going to optimize on the situation to be able to use a boy who is misdirected. So that's one. My second thing is, I understand that crime is going to flourish in a country when 3 or 4 things exist, and permit me to just share with them. Number one, if in a society or in a home, any space, that you have the opportunity for crime, there's going to be crime because the opportunity exists. And I remember sometime I was in one of the fast food places, and I left my wallet and my phone with the meal and went to get the condiments. And I came back and I met a gentleman sitting at my meal at my desk. And he told me this. He said, "Sir, I don't know you, you don't know me. But I just want to give you an advice. I saw when you left and you went to the desk to get your ketchup and so on. But I am an ex-prisoner. I came out and I'm trying hard not to go back. When you leave your wallet and your cell phone there, I'm tempted."
Wow.
He says, "Please don't do that. I'm trying hard not to go back." The opportunity. So
But
when we leave things,
is that not victim blaming, Mr. Stewart? That you're saying that for some of us, we provide an opportunity for criminal elements to conduct crimes. So I decide not to put burglar proof on my house. I decide to buy a fancy car. Or to, I want to treat myself some, I buy myself a nice gold chain. Provided an opportunity for a criminal or someone who may want to follow a life of crime to rob me?
well, we can ignore the opportunity and walk down a dark alley at 1 o'clock in the morning, knowing that I shouldn't be blaming the victim and I could still walk down there. That doesn't change the situation. I am now creating an opportunity. I have to decide from the standpoint of my own safety. Should I leave my house open just because a criminal has no right to come in? A criminal has no right to come in. That's true. But I have a responsibility to reduce that opportunity. And in a society, when the opportunity to create the crime or to commit the crime is high, there's going to be a high chance that somebody is going to take that opportunity. But there are other things also that is said. Two, the likeliness of not being caught. So if the
That's a
opportunity
major
is there,
problem.
and there is a likeliness that the child in the home is not going to be caught doing the wrong thing, the person in society is not going to be caught, the detection rate in the home, the detection rate in wherever it is so low, but the opportunity is high, there is going to be an increased deviance in that society and in that home. The third thing that they said is that if the impact of the consequences of if I seize the opportunity and I am indeed caught, but the impact of the consequences is so low, I would rather take it. You understand? Because I remember when I used to be a licensing officer, we stopped a gentleman who had not licensed his truck for 5 years. It was, I think, 2,500 and change he was to pay annually. And when we stopped him, he said, I would willingly pay this because you guys come out so infrequent on the road. I would rather pay 2,005 in 5 years than to pay it in 5 years, every year for 5 years, and you guys don't come out. I remember that clearly, and it shows the impact of the consequence is so low. When you go to court, you are given sometimes a slap on the wrist. The amount that you are charged for the crime that you have committed is low, then crime will continue. And then there's a fourth. If the predictability of the system being broken, the mother is not home, the father is not home, the father and mother fighting, so the child's deviance can continue. But if the system of justice in a society is also broken, where you do not get justice, there's going to be an increased incidence of crime. Those four things: the opportunity, two, the likeliness of being caught, three, the impact of the consequences, and four, a broken system. Now, you tell me, Mr. Frederick, do you see why crime is so high in some of the Caribbean islands that we have, including Trinidad and Tobago, as a country?
To some degree, I agree with you. However, there seems to be an element in my estimation that is missing. And it appears that the criminal elements are predominantly, Mr. Stewart, from a singular ethnic group. You speak to single households. Again, it appears that the households with the largest proportion of single mothers emanate from a particular ethnic group. Afro-Trinbagonians are more likely to commit crimes than any other ethnic group. So as much as we have the data that support those 4 points that you speak to, it appears that ethnicity plays an integral role in fathers being great fathers, criminals being great criminals.
I support you 100%, Mr. Frederick. Let me ask you a question. Which ethnic group has the family system more broken than any other ethnic group? Where one of them that I said happens to be the predictability of the system being broken. Which ethnic group is that?
Afro-Trinbagonians.
That's why
So,
it is
so
going
does
to
it
be right,
not
because
then
it
speak,
follows the one of the-
as we head into International Men's Day, and yes, it's a conference, but what I would hope, and you hear people speak into it from time to time, it appears that a lot of these conferences are talk shops, and no real solutions are being hammered home, are being driven home. What I would hope is that we're going to pull some data that somehow answers that question of why is it that predominantly criminals are coming from this ethnic group. Am I born with a bad gene? Why is it? Why is it that
Well,
delinquent
sorry.
fathers, predominantly a large proportion of them. Now, they are good fathers from this ethnic group. They are good citizens from this ethnic group. But when you look at the murders that are occurring, who are being killed, when you look at the persons that are apprehended, who are those persons, which ethnic group? And as much as we hammer for harsher penalties, there may be a more deep-rooted problem that needs to be fixed.
Well, I'm not too sure that, particularly in my case, my personal case, that harsher penalties is what I figure has to be done. It's not more jails, it's not harsher penalties, it's fixing the system. When we put back a stable home and we put back a justice system that punishes errant persons, I think we are going to be on our way to recovering. And you said that we don't have research and it's a talk shop, etc. I'm not too sure that you are on point, because that point that I raised about which ethnic group is the most broken in its family system is not by pulling something out of a hat. The research shows that. The research also shows that many of the boys who are in prison, and I have gone to prisons both locally in the Caribbean. Whenever I travel, I visit the prisons and so on. And I talk to them, and one of my number one questions to these prisoners is, tell me about your family life. The family life, out 98% of the time, is a broken family where it is fractured. So the data is there. But to also answer you and to say that, yes, we also believe in gathering the data. So the data is going to be gathered.
Mr. Stewart, forgive me for cutting you. So based on the data that you have, and some would argue it's a convenience sample, but it appears to be true for all of us as we go about our daily lives, that the large majority of criminals are coming from broken homes. So we are punishing, we're seeking harsher penalties for a man, it's primarily men, of African descent, by the way. We're seeking harsher penalties for victims of broken homes. It does not necessarily lend itself to fixing the problem, because they, themselves. And if you look at the data, most of these criminals are under the age of 25. So it's still like a child. They may know much about life as yet. And based on what I'm seeing in this space, we want to fix crime. And to fix crime, and I'm saying, don't get me wrong, as if you commit a crime, you must be punished. However, I somehow believe that it does not necessarily fix that problem that we are facing in our society, where our young men, because they have not been cultured well. You spoke to requiring a father from the age of 6 to 14. That is absent. How is the action justified?
That's why I'm suggesting, Mr. Frederick, that on that point, both of us are riding the same horse. Because I also do not think the harsher punishment, that never came from me. In fact, I was specific to tell you that I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe that we fix the system. The system is broken. And if you fix the system, the other things are likely to better fall in place. So I'm not going to challenge that, because I'm on board with you. Okay. We keep looking for harsher punishment for boys that are broken, for men that are disempowered. But I'm saying that is not going to be the fixing. So I'm with you with that one.
I want to congratulate you for what you have been doing over the years. I've observed that you have had mentoring seminars and mentoring workshops for young men. Tell us more about it. Tell us why did you come up with that concept, and how has it been going?
Well, I have 3 boys, 4 children in all. 1 is a girl, 3 boys. I have 3 grandsons. I'm invested in this. And when I look at what's happening in society, it is heart-rending when you see, one, the way men are treated, two, the way how our boys are growing up, and three, the absence of our men from being present to be fathers and owning up to their own children and also to be mentors. So I've taken up an investment in doing my part in order to be able to change society. And particularly, I recognize that it is not just my family I have to be careful about, because I was reading somewhere where a farmer who won best crop of corn annually, he keeps winning it every time, and they interviewed him and they asked him, how come you keep winning highest quality corn every year? And he said, I give away the best seeds to my neighboring farmers, because if their crop is bad, it will cross fertilize my crop and I will not be able to get the best. So I make sure that there are also good farmers around me with the best seeds. And I felt that is very instructive, that it is important for us not just to look at our own families, but look at all the other families around us. Because when we train our children at home, they go to a school and they are indoctrinated, they are influenced by other children who come there from homes that are not properly brought up.
So true. And so again, I guess we need to implore our viewers to see the role that we must play in the lives of other people's children. Sometimes we are a bit selfish.
That's right.
And we only concern
Yes.
about it, my child, and I have trained my child, look at them child. We have to see that we all interdependent, and whatever happens in my society, whatever happens in my close vicinity, can have an indelible impact on the quality of life of not only myself, but that of my child. And it appears, based on what Assistant Commissioner of Police said, is that you are having gangs infiltrating schools. And I guess it's there in the police killings. You're seeing so many teenagers, 15, 16, following a life of crime. But Mr. Stewart, I want to ask you this question, because we continue to see that the fathers must be implored to do more. And we have been saying it for a while. But it does appear that the fathers are appearing to do less. So what can we do? What sort of conversation possibly we can have? If we decide tomorrow to have a fathers workshop, I believe we're going to see 5 fathers. And the 5 fathers that are going to be there are the five of the good fathers that may not need the advice that we're sharing. So how do we get those fathers who have neglected their responsibilities for a while, and it may be because they also grew up in households where the fathers neglected their responsibilities? How do we get them to see that they need help, to see that there are benefits to them, long-term benefits? Because we're getting older now, Mr. Stewart, and the quality of our retirement, I continue to say it, is dependent on what our children are doing. So how do we get these fathers to see this?
And we grew up to be parents like the parents who parented us. So it is a domino effect. And so your question is, how do we now get that on board? One of the things that we need to get on board is to get the men who hold position of authority and power in our society to support the men's thrust. That does not always happen, because even in some of those cases, we as men don't support men. So when you call a conference, you will get about 5. The system, when the system itself is broken, for example, the women get great support, and this is not knocking women, because this has to be that we support what the women are getting. But we are saying it needs to also transfer also to the men. So the women, whenever you have breast cancer walk, you have a number of screening and testing, etc. Banks support women with a number of things, and that is good. But here's one of the reasons I believe that is so. Because institutions of power and recognition have backed the women. Which organization, which government, which business backs men? And one of my pet peeve is the United Nations is there that has a number of recognized days, internationally recognized days. Out of 137 days, 7 of them went to about girls and women, including International Day for Women, which is March the 8th. Here's what. There's none on it for boys out of the 137, none of it for men. International Men's Day, which is November 19th, and May 16th, which is World Day of the Boy Child, is not recognized by United Nations. In fact, November 19th, International Men's Day, is recognized as World Toilet Day by the United Nations.
Wow.
So therefore, when a business person wants to come on board to sponsor and to be able to promote, they would promote something where these big institutions have also backed. But because it is not backed by, when it comes to men, there is no profit in it. That's one of our greatest bugbears. That can change.
Is it centered on a philosophy that we have in our society that argues that real man don't cry? And so somehow we believe that to convey masculinity, I have to come off as being macho and not requiring support. Is that also one of the reasons why, if you were to call, I see Mr. Stefan Mills via Facebook is saying, call a Zoom meeting for all fathers. But if we call a Zoom meeting, Stefan, how many fathers come in though? So what is the impact of us hammering home into the minds of our boy children? One, real man don't cry, and to be a man, you have to be macho.
You know, I keep hearing this real man don't cry, and I keep hearing this need for men to become more sensitive. And I don't know, I don't subscribe that we have to cry to prove that we are men and that we are men with feelings. I feel that if a man is subject to cry, let him cry. But there are men who really want to be able to do other things, to express and to be able to dispense their emotional frustration. Somebody might take it out on sport. Somebody might want to take it out in the gym. Whatever it is that gives you the venting of this pent-up emotion, use that. But it seems as though we're trying to focus to make cryers. That is going to turn around, in my view, if we have to tell men, in order for you to be able to prove to me that you're a man who is in touch with your feelings, that you must cry. I have a little difficulty with that because I saw a senator in the United States went on the media to berate the kind of rumors that are taking place with his family. And in his media, he was talking about how his family is being hurt by all of these rumors and so on, and he broke down crying. And people turned around and called him weak, crocodile tears, and all of that. So is it that we want crying to be it? And if we do crying for it, is it going to be seen as genuine? Whatever it is that a person gets in touch with his emotions, for me, if crying is it, go ahead. But don't prescribe it. Because this is not Netflix where you do it on demand and you select it. And no, I don't subscribe to that at all.
All right. Going back to the conversation on what we do, what is our society's response to crime. I have Maximilian Anderson on Facebook, and he's saying, what do we have in place when, okay, let's say, yes, you must go to prison. What exactly is in place in the prisons to assist with the reformation of these young men and sometimes young women so that they can come out into society? And Assistant Commissioner of Police spoke to it, that they come out back into society and they go back to follow a life of crime. What exactly can we do? There are some persons that are arguing for restorative justice. What exactly can we do to as it relates to the prison system, as it relates to support systems like yours? You have spoken to the fact that you have gone to the prisons to lend support to the young men and young women who may have followed a life of crime, and some of them they really don't want to follow that life of crime. What can we do in our society?
You know, that is such an important aspect to look at, because we need to reform the way how we do the imprisonment. For example, there's a particular country that I've been visiting and going into the prison. There's a gentleman in it. Every time I go there, he's in it for maintenance. While he's in it, and he would have gotten somebody to pay the maintenance, while he's in it, he's still accumulating. So by the time he reached to the time now that his time has expired, he's already accumulated again. So he's consistently building up obligation to the state while he's in prison. It's almost as though he will never ever come out. So he pleaded with me when I was there, and he said to me what the circumstances are. Well, we organized a number of persons to assist him to fast track that, because his family had paid off first, and then it accumulated, so he still wasn't able to come out. So that was done. I got a call, today is Tuesday, so that was Sunday. I got a call from him overseas on Sunday saying he is out, and you should hear the voice of that gentleman. But he could not have come out based on just serving time, because he would have been in there forever. So I'm saying, why do that for maintenance when you can say to him, we're going to give you a job to clean up the side of the road, to clean drains, to be able to cut trees and so on. But out of that money, we will garnish it and give to the mother of the children that you have. And then you would be able to get some to be able to operate in your living and go back into society. But that is not considered. Lock him away at a cost of, I think I heard somebody say it costs $30,000 a day. To keep him in jail, to pay a $5,000 fine for maintenance. The maths, not maths in. But that's the system that we have. Because who wants to change that? Who wants to be able to change that in order so that the gentleman could come out? So he goes inside of there, angry at the system that is broken, because that's one of the things that creates crime. He comes out and he kicks the system, because he's going to go straight back again, because now that he's out from prison, he's not going to get a job in a hurry. So he still cannot pay maintenance. He's going to be back inside of there. And that is what I'm saying. We need to change, because it is not going to do our men and our boys any good. It is more making them hardened criminal, impervious to reasoning, and uncooperative to society.
Mr. Stewart, I want you to comment on the impact of having a good job on a man feeling empowered as a man. Because, you know, we continue to speak to it, but for quite a few of our men in our society, especially those who may have, for one reason or the other, followed a life of crime, they back out into society, it's kind of difficult for them to get a proper work. Nobody want to hire them. And how does that impact me feeling empowered as a man?
Well, Mr. Frederick, you are an educator yourself, so I'm sure that you could identify with this, that there are men who may not be academically inclined, but they're very good with their hands. This educational system does not really cater to the learning style of the male brain. The data is there concerning that. That hasn't changed. Our vocational skills training programs, some of them are there. And one of the things is that our boys are not taking advantage of that because of the fast money in other unsavory ways. Because I know that there are some governments who have really put things in place to cause them, even with stipend they are given. And yet they were not taking advantage of it. But yes, vocational skills. In fact, I think I heard the Chief Secretary said recently that the amount of money that people can make in vocational skills surpass the public servants in many cases. And I could attest to that. Because when you hire a guy to come and put up a wall for you or to block up somewhere and so on, the amount of money you pay per day, then you say that this is very lucrative. So we have to find a way.
Mr. Stewart, what you're saying, you're agreeing with me. You're saying, I know I didn't state my position on it, but you have argued that the education system does not support the boys learning. But again, I want to say that it appears to only affect one ethnic group. When you look at national scholarships being won, when you look at what China is doing, when you look at what India is doing, and Trinidad and Tobago is made up a multicultural society, multi-ethnic society of African descendants, Indian descendants, Chinese descendants. When you look at what they are doing, it appears that their boys have valued education. When you look at, again, the ethnic group that continues to follow a life of crime, we're saying traditional book learning and doing it for them. Give them skills training. Let them go and do TVET. How many of them are registering and staying in the TVET program? Some of them may register, but it taken so long in their estimation to graduate that they drop out and go and lie on the block. I believe it speaks to what is being done in the home. We are making life too easy for young men. We're not letting them understand the importance of working hard. Success ain't easy. And some of them are sold on that idea that success is easy, Mr. Stewart. And so they don't have to do much. And
you're not going to find a challenge there with me, because I will take that on board. I will take that on board. I want to juxtapose that with the absence of a father, even if you have things available for a young man. Because one of the things, if you look at many times you speak to a doctor, and I ask, well, why did you choose medicine? Well, my father, he was a doctor. Why did you choose mechanic? You know, my father used to do mechanics. So a boy is likely to follow a profession. What I do teaching. My father was a headmaster. You understand me? So what causes a boy to gravitate naturally into a particular field is that mentorship and watching his father do it. But in the absence of the father, the school itself is not going to be just enough. I need to mimic my life after somebody.
So true.
You understand? I met a gentleman who was a doctor, and he says, you know, he liked sailing, but his father was a doctor. He became a doctor, but he bought a boat, a yacht, with the money from doctoring and sales. Says he? But he said his father was the one that set the pace for him.
I think you hit the hammer on the hit the hammer on the head of the nail there right now. And you said it when you started off the conversation on the importance of mentors. A lot of these young men who are following that deviant path, if you look at who their mentors are, is the gangster dancehall singer, is the 6 and the 7. That's who their mentors are. They're not necessarily looking at you, Mr. Stewart, or at myself, as a mentor, as someone that they can be like one day. And I don't know. I don't know why. But I have Stephen Mills. Let me just bring somebody in from Facebook. Stephen Mills is saying, men are warriors, so give them the war against broken home. And let's fight to win, because we are losing, and men are not losers. I like that, Mr. Stephen Mills. I like that one.
Yes.
The final, my director is telling me that we're all out of time. Final words, Mr. Stewart, on this issue of fathers, on this issue of the role that our males play in society, and how can we save the next generation of young people?
Well, I'm looking, you're talking about we get mentorship, and where do we get the mentorship from? And I'm looking around your neck, and I'm not seeing gold. Around my neck is not gold, so therefore we are not going to be followed. But if we start wearing those things, you may find that the boys say, I want to be a TV host as Mr. Frederick, because of the fact that I see where that is, because this is one of the things the entertainers do. They show the bling, they show the cars and all of that, and people get carried away with that. But you are using your money, chances are you use your money into building a house or doing something with your education, etc. That's where you use your money. But people tend to use their money to be able to display to the world. And those people attract more influence. But I want to tell you, let's not give up on our boys and our men, because God has something in store for them. Christ said, if you see me, you see my Father. A boy is like his father. Thank you very much. God bless you.
A boy is like his father. Thank you so much, Mr. Stewart. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we shall be chatting with Ms. Curleen Sandy Mora of the Nurturing Young Minds organization. We shall be right back.